Welcome to the world of science function. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss new stories. Enjoy the listening. The stars above were endless, a sea of shimmering lights scattered across the velvet void of space. Among them, a small spaceship named Celestial Wanderer drifted toward the edge of the galaxy. Its sleek, compact frame belied the centuries-old technology humming inside. On board were 3 passengers: Lily Marrow, a brilliant yet cynical exobiologist; Captain Arlen Drake, a grizzled but sharp-witted veteran of deep space exploration; and Dex, an AI hologram with a penchant for sarcasm and curiosity that often bordered on childlike wonder. Lily stared out of the observation deck, her brow furrowed as she tapped her data pad. "Another sweep, another pile of nothing," she muttered. Her voice carried a mix of frustration and resignation. "Why do we keep chasing these myths?" "Because," Dex chimed in, his shimmering blue form materializing beside her. His digital face wore an exaggerated grin. "Mythology often has a kernel of truth, and because you humans love a good chase. And because it pays," Captain Drake added, walking in with his signature stride, boots thudding against the metallic floor. He rubbed his graying beard. "This ancient beacon nonsense is the only thing keeping our lights on." Lily sighed. The beacon was the reason they were out here in the first place. A faint signal, almost drowned in the cosmic background noise, had been detected a month ago. It wasn't natural, its precise intervals and complexity pointed to intelligence. The signal's origin lay in a star system long thought abandoned, and that mystery alone had been enough to secure funding from a desperate exoplanet research council. The crew had spent weeks chasing faint echoes through uncharted territories. Their supplies were dwindling, and patience wore thin. Yet, there was something unnerving about the signal, something Lily couldn't shake. "This latest reading," she said, scrolling through her data pad, "is odd. It's stronger, more focused. It's like it knows we're getting closer." "Paranoid much?" Dex quipped. "What's next? You think it's going to send us a greeting card?" Before Lily could retort, a shrill alarm pierced the air. Red lights bathed the room as the ship's emergency systems activated. "Proximity alert," Drake barked, rushing to the cockpit. "Dex, get eyes on it." Dex's hologram blinked out, his voice now echoing from the ship's speakers. "Something big, Captain. About 2 clicks out." "It wasn't there a second ago." Lily and Drake strapped into their seats as the viewport revealed the anomaly. It was a massive structure, a station or ship, floating ominously against the starry backdrop. Its design was unlike anything they'd ever seen, a latticework of shimmering black metal that seemed to absorb light, with strange, angular protrusions pulsating faintly. "No way that's natural," Lily whispered. "You think?" Drake muttered. "Dex, scan it." "Already on it," the AI replied. "Interesting, it's broadcasting on the same frequency as the beacon. If I had to guess, it's inviting us." "Inviting us?" Drake's tone was incredulous. "Or luring us." "Semantics," Dex said cheerfully. "Shall I open a channel?" "Not yet," Drake said, flipping switches on the console. "Let's get closer." Carefully. As they approached, the sheer scale of the structure became evident. It was ancient, its surface marred by micrometeorite impacts and covered in what looked like alien script. The pulsating lights intensified, creating an eerie rhythm that seemed to resonate through the ship. Lily's fingers danced over her pad, recording everything. "This is unprecedented. The language, it's not like anything in the database." "We're getting a docking request," Dex interjected. "The signal's authenticating our ship's credentials. Whoever built this, they're expecting us." Drake exchanged a glance with Lily. "Thoughts?" "If we don't go, we'll regret it," she said, her voice steady despite the nervous energy in her eyes. "Fair point." Drake nodded, gripping the controls. "Dex, accept the request. Let's see what these hosts have in store." The docking bay they entered was as alien as the exterior. Automated systems guided the Celestial Wanderer to a landing spot, and as the engines powered down, the bay doors sealed shut. An artificial atmosphere hissed into place, and gravity stabilizers engaged. Okay, Drake said, standing and strapping on his holster. Lily, gear up. Dex, monitor the ship. If anything happens, get us out of here. And leave you behind? Perish the thought, Dex replied dryly. As the airlock opened, a corridor stretched before them, illuminated by the same pulsating lights. The walls were covered in alien glyphs that seemed to shift when looked at directly. Lily felt an inexplicable pull, like the structure itself was beckoning her. This place is alive, she murmured. Let's hope it's friendly, Drake muttered. They ventured deeper, their footsteps echoing ominously. The corridor opened into a vast chamber, its ceiling lost in shadows. At its center stood a pedestal with a glowing orb, suspended in midair. Touching that feels like a bad idea, Drake said, eyeing it warily. Agreed, Lily said, though her curiosity gnawed at her restraint. She activated a scanner. The energy signature, it's off the charts. This isn't just a beacon. It's a repository. A library, maybe. Or a trap, Drake said. Before they could decide, the orb pulsed brightly, and the chamber came alive. Holographic figures appeared, alien but humanoid, their forms shimmering with an otherworldly elegance. They spoke in unison, their voices resonating like a harmonious choir. Welcome, travelers. You are the first to answer our call. Lily stepped forward, her voice trembling but firm. Who are you? What is this place? The figures' expressions were inscrutable. We are the archivists, stewards of the knowledge of the first elder species. Drake frowned. First elder species? You mean, us? The archivists tilted their heads in unison. Indeed. Humanity was the progenitor of advanced life in this galaxy, eons ago. This knowledge was entrusted to us to preserve. Lily's mind raced. You're saying humanity, seeded life? Built civilizations? Correct, the archivists said. But you forgot. You fell, and time erased your legacy. The revelation hung heavy in the air, a truth too immense to grasp fully. Drake's hand hovered near his weapon. And now? Why call us? Because the galaxy faces a great peril, the archivists said. And only the first elder species can unite it. The question is, will you rise to the challenge, or fall again? Lily and Drake exchanged a glance, their initial disbelief giving way to a dawning sense of responsibility. Whatever lay ahead, one thing was certain, their journey had just begun. Lily and Drake stood frozen in the vast chamber as the archivist's revelation settled over them. The silence that followed was as heavy as the vacuum of space, broken only by the hum of the alien machinery surrounding them. The glowing orb on the pedestal pulsed faintly, as if urging them forward. Drake's voice was the first to cut through the tension. All right, archivists. Let's say we believe you. What's this great peril you're talking about? The holographic figures shifted, their forms becoming slightly translucent before coalescing into a single entity. Its voice, now singular and commanding, filled the chamber. A force known as the null convergence. It consumes and erases all traces of existence, leaving nothing in its wake. It has awakened once more. Lily's fingers gripped her scanner tightly, her mind racing. Why now? And why us? Surely there are other species out there, more advanced than humans are at this point. The archivist's form flickered. Those who came after you inherited fragments of your technology, but they lack the ingenuity and adaptability that defined your kind. You possess a unique combination of traits that can rekindle the unity needed to confront the null. Drake crossed his arms, skepticism etched on his face. So, what? You expect two people and a smart-ass AI to save the galaxy? Dex's voice piped in from Lily's comm unit. I resent the term smartass, but I'll allow it given the gravity of the situation. Not just you, the archivist replied. You are the catalysts. Through you, humanity's legacy can be reawakened. But the path will not be easy. You must first prove yourselves worthy of this burden. Of course, Lily muttered, rolling her eyes. There's always a test. As if in response, the chamber's floor began to shift. The smooth metallic surface divided into concentric rings, which rotated in opposite directions. The pedestal sank into the ground, replaced by a circular console that rose in its place. Symbols illuminated on its surface, indecipherable yet strangely familiar. Your first task lies here, the archivist said. This is the codex. Solve its riddle, and it will guide you to the next step. Drake groaned. Fantastic. Puzzles. Just what I signed up for. Lily ignored him, her focus locked on the codex. She approached it cautiously, her scanner whirring as it attempted to analyze the symbols. It's a language, she said after a moment. But it's not static. The symbols are shifting, almost like they're alive. Maybe they are, Dex suggested. Try interacting with them. What's the worst that could happen? We die in a spectacular explosion, Drake deadpanned. Lily shot him a glare but reached out cautiously, her fingers hovering over the glowing symbols. As her hand made contact, the symbols reacted, rippling outward like water disturbed by a pebble. The chamber filled with a low hum, and the holographic archivist watched silently. It's responding to touch, Lily said, her voice tinged with excitement. It's almost like it's trying to communicate. Drake stepped closer, peering over her shoulder. Can you figure out what it's saying? Lily frowned, her brow furrowed in concentration. The symbols are forming patterns. They're repeating, but slightly different each time. It's like a logic puzzle. Logic puzzles I can do, Dex said. Let me interface with it. No, Lily said quickly. If this thing is as old as it looks, plugging in an AI might fry its systems. We can't risk it. Suit yourself, Dex replied. I'll just be over here, not solving the ancient riddle of humanity's destiny. Lily ignored him, her fingers moving deftly across the symbols. Each touch caused the patterns to shift, and the hum grew louder. Sweat beaded on her forehead as the sequence grew more complex, the patterns faster and more intricate. Drake watched, his fingers twitching nervously near his holster. Lily, this thing better not blow up. Relax, she said through gritted teeth. I've almost got it. With a final touch, the symbols locked into place, forming a glowing spiral that expanded outward. The chamber vibrated, and the archivist's voice returned. You have passed the first trial. The codex has deemed you worthy to proceed. Great, Drake said, his tone dripping with sarcasm. What's next? Arm wrestling a black hole? The archivist ignored him, gesturing toward a new passageway that had opened in the chamber's wall. Beyond lies the nexus, where your journey truly begins. Proceed with courage and wisdom. Lily and Drake exchanged a wary glance but stepped forward, their boots echoing against the floor. The passageway was narrow and dark, the pulsating lights now faint and irregular. The air grew colder, and the tension was palpable. This place gives me the creeps, Drake muttered. Feels like we're walking into a trap. If it is, it's the most elaborate one I've ever seen, Lily replied. As they emerged into the nexus, their breath caught. The space was vast, a spherical room lined with countless panels that glowed with soft, white light. At the center hovered a massive crystalline structure, its facets shimmering with an inner energy. Whoa, Dex said, his voice uncharacteristically subdued. Now that's impressive. The archivist's voice resonated once more. This is the nexus, the heart of the archive. Within its depths lies the key to awakening humanity's forgotten power. But beware, the null convergence is aware of your presence. It will seek to stop you. Lily's stomach churned. What do we need to do? Enter the nexus, the archivist said. It will test you. Only those who prove their resolve may access the knowledge within. Drake sighed heavily, his hand resting on his sidearm. Figures. Well, let's get this over with. As they stepped toward the crystalline structure, the lights dimmed, and the air grew thick with an unseen force. Shadows coalesced around them, forming vague, menacing shapes. A low growl echoed through the chamber. "That doesn't sound good," Drake said, drawing his weapon. "Stay focused," Lily said, her voice steady despite the fear creeping into her chest. "This is just another test." The shadows lunged, and the battle for their survival began. The crystalline structure pulsed as shadows surged forward, their indistinct forms twisting and writhing like living smoke. Drake's weapon roared to life, bright bursts of energy slicing through the darkness. Yet, his shots seemed to pass through the shadows without effect, scattering them momentarily before they reformed and advanced. Lily's heart pounded in her chest. "Shooting them isn't working," she shouted, clutching her scanner as she tried to make sense of the readings. "They're not physical. They're energy manifestations, pure void constructs." "Great," Drake growled, retreating to her side. "Any bright ideas on how to fight something that isn't real?" Dex's voice crackled through their comms. "I'd suggest not dying. That's usually a good first step." Lily glared at the floating AI hologram. "Not helpful, Dex." All right, Dex replied, his tone shifting to something resembling focus. "The Nexus is a repository of energy and knowledge, right? Maybe those constructs are a defense mechanism. Try interfacing with the crystalline core, it might let you override the system." Lily's eyes darted to the towering crystal, its surface refracting light into dazzling rainbows. The shadows seemed to emanate from the surrounding panels, drawn toward the core like moths to a flame. "It's worth a shot," she said, steeling herself. "Cover me." Drake nodded, his jaw tightening as he fired another volley at the advancing shadows. The energy blasts didn't destroy them, but they provided enough of a distraction to buy Lily precious seconds. She sprinted toward the crystal, her scanner in one hand and a compact interface module in the other. As she neared the core, the air grew dense, crackling with invisible energy that raised the hairs on her arms. Her scanner buzzed with data streams that were as overwhelming as they were incomprehensible. "It's ancient," she muttered under her breath, "and it's barely holding itself together." The shadows surged closer, their tendrils reaching for her. She slammed the interface module onto the crystal's surface, her fingers flying over the keypad as she attempted to synchronize with its system. Come on," she whispered, sweat dripping down her temple. "Lily, hurry up." Drake shouted, his voice strained as he dodged a shadow's swipe. One tendril grazed his arm, and he hissed in pain as the fabric of his sleeve disintegrated, exposing a shallow burn. "I'm working on it," she snapped, her frustration mounting. The crystal's interface was unlike anything she'd ever encountered. It was more intuitive than mechanical, responding to her thoughts as much as her commands. She closed her eyes, focusing her mind on the symbols that danced across the interface. Suddenly, the crystal pulsed brighter, and a wave of energy erupted outward. The shadows recoiled, their forms flickering as the light washed over them. The chamber trembled, and the archivist's voice resonated through the air. "You have activated the Nexus's core. The constructs will not be subdued by force, but by understanding. Use the light to reveal their true forms." Lily's eyes snapped open. "Understanding," she echoed, her mind racing. She glanced at the shadows, now writhing as if in pain from the crystal's radiance. The scanner in her hand beeped, displaying fragmented data streams. Drake fired another shot, this time deliberately aiming into the light. The energy bolt struck a shadow, and instead of dispersing, the creature's form solidified. It transformed into a humanoid figure, its features translucent but distinct. "Lily," Drake called out, his voice tinged with urgency. "They're changing." She looked up, her breath catching as more shadows were illuminated by the crystal's light. Each one transformed into a unique entity, their forms alien but undeniably sentient. They stood motionless, their eyes, or what passed for eyes, focused on Lily and Drake. They were never enemies, Lily realized, her voice trembling. They were guardians, waiting for us to see them for what they really are. "If that's true," Drake said, lowering his weapon slightly, "what happens now?" Before Lily could answer, the archivist's voice returned. "You have passed the second trial. The Guardians acknowledge your clarity of vision. The knowledge you seek lies within the core, but to access it, you must connect with the nexus completely. Lily stepped closer to the crystal, her hand hovering over its surface. Connect how? Through unity, the archivist replied. As the first elder species, humanity's strength lies not in isolation, but in harmony. Share your essence with the nexus, and it will reveal its secrets. Drake tensed. Share our essence? That sounds ominous. It's a risk we have to take, Lily said, her voice firm. She placed her hand on the crystal, and a surge of energy coursed through her. Her mind was flooded with visions, fragments of humanity's forgotten past. Cities made of light, ships that sailed the stars like oceans, and a galaxy united under a single banner. Drake hesitated, then placed his hand beside hers. The crystal's energy enveloped him, and his eyes widened as he shared in the vision. Together, they saw the rise and fall of humanity's ancient empire, the triumphs and tragedies that had shaped the galaxy. The light intensified, and the crystalline structure began to dissolve, its energy condensing into a single point. The point expanded into a sphere, hovering between them. Within it swirled a map of stars, marked with coordinates and symbols. The key to humanity's legacy, the archivist said. The knowledge to rebuild what was lost, and to face the null convergence. But beware, the path ahead will test your resolve to its limits. The guardians around them bowed silently before dissolving into the air. The chamber's lights dimmed, leaving only the glowing sphere to illuminate the room. Drake exhaled slowly, his hand resting on his sidearm. Well, that was something. Are we done with the tests now? No, Lily said, her gaze fixed on the sphere. This is just the beginning. As they retrieved the sphere and prepared to leave the nexus, a faint tremor ran through the chamber. The archivist's voice returned, its tone grave. The null convergence has sensed your awakening. It is coming. Prepare yourselves. Lily and Drake exchanged a glance, their determination hardening. Whatever lay ahead, they would face it together. The tremors intensified, shaking the floor beneath their feet as the archivist's words echoed in their minds. Lily and Drake held the glowing sphere tightly, its light casting eerie shadows on the walls of the now dimming nexus chamber. The sphere's map displayed a network of stars, their positions shifting and realigning with every pulse of energy emanating from the artifact. We've got company, Drake muttered, his eyes narrowing as the chamber's walls began to shimmer. Shapes emerged from the metallic surface, coalescing into forms that were disturbingly familiar. The null convergence had arrived, and it had taken on an approximation of humanity's image, as if mocking their ancient legacy. They're not real, Lily said, her voice steady but laced with urgency. They're manifestations of the null's presence. It's testing us. Great, Drake replied, drawing his weapon. I'm getting real tired of these tests. The figures moved in unison, their motions fluid yet mechanical. They radiated an oppressive energy that made the air feel heavy, as if the very fabric of reality was bending around them. The sphere in Lily's hands grew hotter, its pulses syncing with her racing heartbeat. We can't fight them head-on, Lily said, clutching the sphere tightly. The archivist said our strength lies in unity. We need to use this, together. Drake's jaw tightened, but he nodded. All right. What do we do? Lily focused on the sphere, letting its energy flow through her. She closed her eyes and concentrated, her thoughts reaching out to the glowing artifact. It's a conduit, she said, her voice calm despite the chaos around them. It connects to the nexus, and to us. We need to synchronize with it. Drake placed his hand on the sphere, and immediately, a surge of energy coursed through him. The connection was overwhelming, flooding his mind with visions of humanity's ancient past and the monumental task that lay ahead. He gritted his teeth, struggling to maintain his composure. Focus, Lily urged, her voice cutting through the haze. We have to channel it together. The figures advanced, their forms shifting and distorting as they closed the distance. Lily and Drake stood their ground, the sphere's light intensifying until it bathed the entire chamber in a blinding radiance. The oppressive energy of the null faltered, its constructs hesitating as if confused. It's working, Lily said, her eyes snapping open. The sphere is destabilizing them. Then let's finish this, Drake growled, pouring his resolve into the connection. Together, they directed the sphere's energy outward, its light coalescing into a wave that rippled through the chamber. The null constructs dissolved upon contact, their forms unraveling into nothingness. The tremors subsided, and the chamber grew still. The sphere's light dimmed, its surface cooling as the immediate threat dissipated. Lily and Drake collapsed to their knees, the weight of the ordeal leaving them drained but victorious. Is it over? Drake asked, his voice hoarse. The archivist's voice returned, its tone softer now. You have proven your resolve and unity. The null convergence has been repelled, but it is not defeated. Its presence lingers at the edges of the galaxy, and it will grow stronger if left unchecked. Lily pushed herself to her feet, her gaze fixed on the sphere. What do we do now? The sphere began to project the star map once more, its coordinates aligning to form a clear path. Follow the map, the archivist said. It will guide you to the remaining archives. Within them lies the knowledge and tools needed to confront the null. Humanity's legacy is vast, and its full potential can only be unlocked through perseverance. Drake stood, his expression grim but determined. So, this was just the first step. Indeed, the archivist replied. The galaxy's fate rests in your hands. Remember, unity is your greatest weapon. Trust in each other, and you may yet prevail. The projection faded, and the chamber's walls began to shift once more. A new passageway opened, leading back to their ship. The sphere hovered between them, its light a steady reminder of the responsibility they now carried. As they made their way back, the weight of the archivist's words settled over them. The null convergence was a threat unlike anything they'd ever faced, but the knowledge they had gained gave them hope. So, what's the plan? Drake asked as they boarded the Celestial Wanderer. Lily placed the sphere on the central console, its map illuminating the cockpit. We follow the trail. Find the other archives. Learn everything we can. Dex's hologram appeared, his expression uncharacteristically serious. Sounds like a long shot. But hey, if anyone can pull it off, it's us. Drake smirked. Optimism from you? That's a first. Dex shrugged. Desperate times, Captain. Lily smiled faintly, her gaze fixed on the map. We'll figure it out. One step at a time. As the ship powered up and left the nexus behind, the crew prepared for the journey ahead. The stars stretched out before them, a vast expanse filled with danger and possibility. The null convergence loomed on the horizon, but so did the chance to reclaim humanity's legacy and secure the galaxy's future. For the first time in centuries, hope burned brightly in the void.